I wanna be the hole in your parachute, so I can look at you and see the face you make when you start falling. You're a thumbtack inside my shoe, toothpaste and orange juice, an 18-wheeler in the passing lane, and things keep getting worse, just not as bad as I deserve. There's a rug underneath my feet, right where it ought to be, and I'm still standing, but I feel you pulling. Burn the calendar in effigy, this year is through with me. Don't wanna look back on a goddamn thing, still I can't help but laugh. It doesn't add up when you do the math.
Pouring gasoline on the fridge. I'm pouring gasoline on the fridge. I got a pack of trick candles and I made my wish. Now I'm toasting everyone that stays lit. I'm pouring gasoline on the fridge. I'm pouring gasoline on the fridge. I got a pack of trick candles and I made my wish. Now I'm toasting everyone that stays lit.
Yeah, I'm tossing everyone that stays lit.
Hey guys, so thank you so much for tuning into Offstage, the metal show. Today we have a special guest with us today. They are Alex, I hope I'm saying this right, Alex Kasznel and the board of directors. Is that correct?
Oh yeah.
All right, awesome. And they are a pop punk trio from Ohio, correct?
Correct.
Awesome. All right, so why don't you guys introduce yourselves for us?
Oh, this is the hard part.
I'm Heather, I play bass.
Awesome.
I play drums.
I'm Alex. I play guitar and sing.
That's awesome. We're definitely so glad that you guys are on our show today. So why don't you guys tell us a little bit about the history of your band? When did you guys form your band?
We started a little over a year ago officially.
Wow.
I was doing this for a while as like a solo project essentially because wanted to play music and I wanted to be in a band, but I was in my late 20s at the time, and it's not like a situation where you can just like, hey, that guy in my math class is a Bad Religion shirt. He probably like would want to be in my band. Like you don't really, I didn't know how to meet people. And it was after COVID, things were kind of weird. So I just started playing a lot of open mics and writing a bunch of songs. And people would ask, like, do you have anything online? You know, do you have anything recorded? And so I just made up a band called the Board of Directors and started telling people I was in the Board of Directors, and I recorded an album under that name and started putting it out. And people would be like, oh yeah, Board of Directors, I've heard of them. I'm like, you have? It's like, but yeah, we started booking shows under that sort of moniker. And then so I started reaching out to people online and sending them the album saying like, this is kind of what I wanted this band to be if you wanted to be in it. Thinking that people would kind of just maybe play a couple shows or whatever, and then I would just keep recording the songs and we'd just keep doing that. But surprisingly, I found Heather and Andrew were as interested in doing this as I was, and so it became a real band at a certain point after being a fictitious one. So, and then that version of the band has now existed for about a year. So yeah, that's kind of the long and the short of it.
Have you guys had any previous band experience?
Oh yeah, I think we've all been in other bands that ended for one reason or another. I don't know. You've been in a couple Cincinnati bands.
Yeah, probably half a dozen or so bands, like mid '90s up until when I joined these guys. So yeah, I've been playing for a while.
And then you were in bands in Michigan?
Maryland.
Maryland, okay.
Yeah, in high school.
Yeah, and I grew up
wow.
I grew up in Pennsylvania, so I did. When I was like 13 or 14, I think I started my first band with my older brother, and then we did that for a little while, and that's kind of high school and college bands, but nothing that ever really went quite as far as what we're doing right now. So this is kind of our first grown up band, I think.
What really got you guys into music? Like, how did you know like that's something that you guys wanted to pursue?
When I was just starting, my friends sat me down at a restaurant to tell me that they were starting a band, and I thought, oh, that's great. You know, you guys are you and you are starting a band. That's great. And my friend interrupted me and said, no, we're starting a band. I don't know how to play anything. So that's okay. We have a drum set. It's just going to be punk rock, and it just kind of started from there and never turned back. It's been fantastic.
That's awesome. And is that kind of how you found your genre?
For me, I've been into punk rock for forever. It's like since I was like elementary school or whatever. But so the music fit right away, but playing it was a whole different thing. So that's for sure.
Yeah, I got it really into punk rock when I was in high school, and then didn't play music at all for many, many years while I was raising children and figuring out my career and all that kind of stuff. And just a little over a year ago, I really got the itch to play with people again and put myself out there, and found Alex like almost immediately. So
Yeah, the itch really never leaves whenever you're in bands or around music.
Yeah.
it's true.
That's definitely true.
Yeah, you take a break for a minute and then you're just like, I want to get back into this.
Yeah, it's true. It's definitely I think at any of the times where it's not been as much of an active part of my life, the absence was definitely felt for sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
I could agree with that.
I definitely understand that as well from a musician's point of view. I've never personally have done any live shows. But just the energy of going to a show, like I can only imagine what you guys feel like whenever, you're out there in front of a crowd of people. Like it has to be an amazing feeling.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's definitely it's sort of an irreplaceable thing. I've heard people say that before, that like with the way that sort of media in general is changing, and everybody can kind of like, you don't necessarily go to a movie theater, you kind of stream a movie at home on Netflix, or maybe you don't like go to a record store and buy an album, you like have Spotify. But live music is really something that's pretty much irreplaceable. Like the experience of physically being there with other people and having that shared sort of community around it is something that can't be digitized in a way,
Yeah.
Absolutely. I definitely think, whenever COVID hit, that definitely, oh my gosh, I can only imagine how a lot of, especially like people like you guys, that, do live shows and whatnot, like the toll that must have taken. Like I can only imagine.
Like no one came out to shows, obviously, and even when they did, everyone was in masks and real weird, except for the folks who never got vaccinated, and that was even weirder. They were like, business, and you're like, just stop breathing.
Yeah.
And like a weird community, but no, now that we are over it, it's getting better. Yeah.
So what exactly does the writing process look like for you guys whenever you're making a song? Like do you usually put like the instrumentals together, or like what does your writing process look like?
So it's changed a lot. The early on, obviously, I was kind of writing everything myself, and then when we got the band together, I was kind of teaching the other guys the parts and the songs. But then once it became sort of like I said, like a real band, as opposed to just me kind of running things and teaching other people how to do the songs, it became a lot more collaborative, and it was a lot. I definitely, when I start to come up with like sort of the bones of a song, I definitely leave things a lot more open now, because it's not as necessary to dictate every little thing, because obviously Heather and Andrew are highly competent musicians and want to have that input. So I kind of just get the guitar and the vocals where they need to be, and then there's a bass line, but then Heather will take it and do her thing with it, Andrew will take it and do his thing with it, and it becomes something way better than what I would have done by myself, so it's a lot more that way, and like there's not really necessarily like a music first or lyrics first kind of thing, but I think that it's harder to collaborate on the singer-songwritery type songs that have like lyrics and chords and melody, because it's sort of so personal. But then the instrumental parts are the things that we can really kind of do together, because everybody has their own contribution to that. But the lyrics have always kind of been my part of it.
That's awesome. I listened to the song "Parachute" by you guys. It definitely made me dance. I loved, it just had a really great vibe to it. What was your inspiration to the words to that song?
Uh, so there's a lot of songs on our first couple of releases that are all about how much I hated a job I had at the time. In one way or another, they're all motivated by anger at my situation in my day job. But in the most basic sense, it was about just a sense of frustration with whatever your situation may be. And that at that point in life, I mean, I was mad because our landlord at our old practice space kept messing with our stuff while I wasn't around. That
Oh
was pissing
no.
Oh man.
that, at the people I was working with. Like the whole thing was just kind of just a non-specific anger. But the joke of it was basically that I still understood that the problems were fairly mundane. And at the end of the day, it wasn't like somebody in my life was like suffering from a terminal illness, which is like really petty things that were annoying me. So that's why it says stuff like things are getting worse, but not as bad as I deserve and stuff like that. It's all just kind of like saying this is really annoying, but I get that it's big of a deal, but I'm still gonna write this super fast angry song about it.
Definitely. I feel like that's definitely a scapegoat, for musicians. And I always say that, when it comes to music writing, like we can always put things in there that we can't always generally say. Like it's so crazy how music can do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let me ask you guys, who would you say is your biggest influence when it comes to music?
Ooh, wow. Who wants to start this one?
Oh boy.
Wow. Damn.
Yeah, always a hard question.
It
Yeah.
is.
It is varied and disparate.
All over there. We made basically mixtapes or Spotify playlists for each other,
Yeah.
showing like all the like 3 hours worth of stuff we really like, and it's all over the place. There's punk and metal and country and humor and all kinds of goofy stuff all over the place. But I think for me, I think musically, drumming wise, I think like Minor Threat was a hell of an influence on me and how I do what I do. Not that I'm that good, but that's the direction that I've always gone is that band a lot. Yeah.
Heather, what do you think?
I
Van
don't even
Halen.
know. Yeah,
It's Van
so, yeah,
Halen, isn't it?
for sure.
It's probably
Yeah. No, most of my favorite bands kind of fall in the, like 90s pop punk vein, but yeah, I don't know. My taste is kind of varied and I don't even really know how that all forms how I play.
I definitely understand. I mean, my taste in music, although I love punk and metal, like it's so diverse. I listen to Chopin, my taste in music is definitely everywhere. So I get that, if someone were to ask me that question, I definitely couldn't, just say one person was my biggest influence because there's definitely so many talented artists out there that I definitely look up to. So I definitely understand where you're coming from with that. What about venues? What would you say was your favorite venue that you guys have ever played?
Ever.
Melody Inn's pretty cool.
Melody Inn is really cool. Though, where are you guys located actually? I didn't even think to ask.
We are in Pennsylvania. So Dixon
Oh.
is in like the Du Bois area, and I'm in like the Altoona area of Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah, you're
Yeah.
in the middle there. That's very cool. Yeah, so we play a lot around the Midwest basically. So in Indianapolis and in Louisville, Kentucky, there's this institution they have called Punk Rock Night, which is just basically a weekly punk show from bands from all over the country basically will come and play. We just got the opportunity to do that for the first time a month or two ago in Indianapolis, and the place they hold it is the Melody Inn, which is like I said, another place that is much revered in that scene, and that was you can understand why going there. It sounds great, and the way that the stage is set up, you're sort of surrounded by the audience as you're playing, as opposed to them just being in front of you, like kind of far away, like they're all around. And we had people like jumping up on stage while we were playing and stuff like that.
Oh my
And
gosh.
yeah, it's kind of nuts. And they do a really great job of taking care of the bands there, and the people in that scene definitely are willing to come out and watch bands, even if they've never like heard of them really. It's just sort of they're interested in being a part of that experience. So that's really great for us for breaking into new areas, because I mean that's not the case everywhere. You know, a lot of times you have to have name recognition to be able to get an audience. And Punk Rock Nights is one of those things that'll help you to break into one of those areas without having ever played sort of, you know, that city before.
That's awesome. Now, my next question kind of ties in with that. Do you guys ever get like stage fright, like anxiety?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think everybody does.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're pretty comfortable being on stage at this point. We practice a lot is the other thing. So I think a lot of stage fright comes from, like, for me, it's like a fear of I'm not going to remember how to play the song or something. And at this point, like, we played the songs, even the new songs, like they get played so many times before we ever bring them up on stage. I'm not really worried that that's going to happen anymore. It's more like just, I don't know. What do you guys think? Like, is there any particular thing that you get worried about on stage? Like, I know I'm worried that I'm about the way that I look more now than the way that I actually, like, the sound I have more or less at my hand around, but I'm like, am I just not being entertaining enough while on stage? Like, these are the things that go across my mind now. But yeah, I don't know. What are you? Is there anything that jumps out at you?
The only thing that gives me stage fright is if something goes wrong, like I forgot a part of my equipment or something like that right before we go on, and that's all I can focus on. But otherwise, no, I think I'm pretty comfortable.
I think
with these dudes.
That's always a big thing. You got to be comfortable with your bandmates.
Yeah, for
sure.
sure.
I think I tend to get anxious because being a drummer, you have 500 things to set up. Like these two, like put their amp up, plug the guitar in, and they're ready to go. And I'm just like assembling Legos.
Why aren't you ready yet?
And like something always goes wrong. It was with something like a gear falls down and a cymbal hits the floor, and it's like, oh, there's another 10 minutes of what? I wonder to fix more crap.
You know, there's a full game of chess going on.
So, how can people get a hold of you to book your band?
You can find us. So you can look up my last name, basically. Pretty much comes up related to this, but we're alex.kasznel@gmail.com is a great way to get in touch with us. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter or X, whatever it's called, and Bandcamp, alexkasznel.bandcamp.com. It's a highly Google searchable username that we've exploited. Places if people are interested in hitting us up, and people do now. It's a weird thing, like the way the internet works. Like, we get emails, like, I'd say pretty much every week, from bands that are like coming through Cincinnati that are like, hey, you're a band in Cincinnati, can you help us set up a show? I'm like, who are you? I mean, we're always happy to help people out who are coming through here, and they always do the same for us when we come play their city. So it's a great way, great piece of networking, obviously. But yeah, if anybody wants to get in touch with us, we're available.
That's awesome. Now, what advice would you say to our new musicians out there that are just starting out? What advice would you give them?
Don't do it.
I hear that a lot.
Practice a lot. Expect to screw up and expect no one to really care as much as you think they do.
That's true.
Especially if you're playing punk music or metal music, anything that's noisy and fast kind of thing, it's not going to matter. Everyone in the crowd, they don't know how the song is supposed to go. So if you screw up, they probably don't know anyway.
Yeah. The only thing I would say, and this is what I usually think about when people ask me for advice for bands that are starting out, is just, it is so easy to publish now, because we can record a song on your iPhone and you can be up in Spotify the next day if you wanted to. But that being said, I think the onus is on artists to make stuff that's better, honestly, because you don't necessarily, just because you have the option to, have to publish the first thing that you write and just put it out there immediately. You can work on it for a while and you sort of toil in obscurity a little bit until you have something that you're really proud of. And then that can be your first impression that you give to the listening audience. And I think that was one of the things that helped us early on, was that I didn't like start putting out the first songs that I wrote because they weren't all that good, you know? I mean, like I listened back to the early demos that we had for these songs, and like a lot of them are like cringy, like the playing, the recording and everything. So I spent a long time on it before we actually put anything out. And then people are like, how did you guys get this stuff out so quick? I'm like, well, we were doing it for a long time before we said anything about it, you know? And then so it allowed us to hit the ground running a lot faster, I think. So I think it's a helpful thing for some bands to think about. Just like don't rush it too much, you know, just work on your stuff, and then when you do make your entrance, it'll be more memorable, you know?
That's some great advice. Thank you so much for that. I definitely could have used that advice myself when I released my first song. Like, I was so excited, and like I listened back to it, I'm like, oh my gosh, why did I do
That's funny.
Mr. Prevailer, did you have any other questions for these guys today?
What was the parachute video about?
What was the video about?
Yeah, like
Uh,
it's hilarious too. Like setting things on fire and all that stuff. I'd actually like to do that to somebody, but
Well, that was our friend Brandon Michael Owens who directed that whole video, and he plays in a band called the Fentanyls and also in a band called Misunderstood, and they have done a lot of shows with us, and he makes these videos sort of as a labor of love for other bands in the scene. So he just would watch us play, and he asked us one night, like, do you want me to make a video for one of your songs? What would it be? And we said Parachute. And so he just started filming us at all these different shows we were playing in Cincinnati. I think there was a Michigan show, and the Indianapolis was in there as well. So just the different cities that we played in, and he stitched all the videos together and had some other fun stuff that he threw in as sort of interstitial videos. But yeah, that was all him. I can't take too much credit for that. I think it was mostly just a documentation of the way we play that song live.
yeah, I like to vibe with it. And I don't really listen to like a lot of pop punk or whatever. I'm like a deathcore kind of guy, but it was pretty cool that I watched it. I was like, these guys are pretty good.
Hey, I'll take it.
Yeah. You're welcome. I think she's muted.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh my
No.
gosh, yes, I was muted. I was hit the button. I said, yes, I definitely was dancing in my kitchen as soon as I heard it, I was, yes!
But hey, I want to thank you all for your time today.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome. What's your next show?
On Thursday, March 28th, we're going to be playing at the Southgate House Revival in Newport, Kentucky, which is just south of Cincinnati. And we'll be playing with another Cincinnati band,
Lost Henry?
Lost Henry, and there's a couple of other acts on that bill, the names of which are escaping me right now, but I'm sure they're all very good. We've not played with them yet, but worth checking out for sure. Yeah, Southgate House on Thursday, March 28th.
Yeah, once again, thank you for your time today.
Thanks for having
You
us.
bet.
Yeah, you're welcome anytime.
See you later.
Later.
Yeah.